Fay Jones to second.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is a real honour to be asked to second the gracious speech this afternoon, and an even greater one to follow my honourable friend, the member for Beverley and Holderness. His was a pitch-perfect speech, an exemplar of how to do it, and one which I feel undermined his status as a self-confessed old duffer. Now, members with more experience than I have seen many state openings, but this year's is undoubtedly special. Even despite Her Majesty's absence this morning, the Platinum Jubilee is a lasting reminder of the Queen's immense devotion to duty. Yeah. And I know everyone in this House wishes Her Majesty a speedy recovery. Yeah. Now, this time last year, at last year's Queen's speech, I sat up in the gallery as seats in this chamber were especially limited because of the COVID regulations. And as I watched my good friend, the Honourable Member for South Ribble, get to her feet, I remember thinking to myself, all the best, Fletch, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes right now. But karma comes at you fast, doesn't it, Chief Whip? But unlike my northern friend, I have the honour of addressing a packed chamber with faces free of the burden of face masks. Now, as much as I loathed wearing a face mask in the chamber, they certainly helped me by hiding the looks of disinterest and abject boredom whenever I got up to speak. So I'm afraid this year the cameras are on, so at least try and look as though you're enjoying this. Now, on being asked to do this, I turn to some trusted friends and colleagues for advice. The Right Honourable... The Right Honourable Member for South Swindon's instant...
It's your fault.
Yeah. His instant reaction was, "Oh my God, love, you better be funny." The Honourable Member for the Cities of London and Westminster told me I would be a total mess. And even my dad, a former member and my inspiration in many ways, said after yesterday's rehearsal, "Well, you're going to have to tell the jokes better than that." So, Mr. Speaker, that's actually better feedback than he gave me at the start of my political career at my count in 2019. The result had been declared, and I took to the podium to make my acceptance speech. My mum was beaming in the front row, and I saw my dad move to the back of the hall, presumably to get a better view or to take a photograph. But just a minute or so into my speech, Dad had had enough, and he gave me the winded-up signal. So with friends like those, I ran straight for the warm embrace of the House of Commons Library. There I discovered that I am the 7th member from Wales to have taken part in the Loyal Address since 1874. I am the first woman from Wales and the first Conservative from Wales. But I am very proud to say that my constituents in Brecon and Radnorshire have a long association with the Loyal Address. In 1975, one of my predecessors, Cwm Roderick, a senior figure in the Labour Party, proposed the speech. As members will know, Brecon and Radnorshire is 2/3 of the historic county of Powys. And so with a proposer and now a seconder coming from the undisputed better half of the county, I wonder how my honourable friend from Montgomeryshire feels this afternoon, knowing that he is neither the has-been nor the will be. I withdraw that, Mr. Speaker. However, that I have even been asked to give this speech today is a surprise to many, most of all myself. I was always afraid that I had torpedoed my political career long before it even began. In 2005, when I was at university, I shared a flat with a friend who was working on the campaign to make my right honourable friend for Halton Price and Howden the Conservative Party leader. It was suggested to myself and a few friends that wearing a pink T-shirt which said "It's DD for me" would go down a storm at party conference. Turns out it did. Sorry, David. So 14 years later, when I was asked at my selection meeting for Brecon and Radnorshire, have you ever done anything to embarrass the Conservative Party? I had to say yes. I was later asked what I had learned from the incident. I said that I don't look good in pink. Now, today is a proud day for my constituency and my family. Apart from stints in London for university and working in Europe, I have lived my whole life in Wales, raised in a firmly Conservative household. And I think being a Conservative in Wales has helped me develop the thick skin which I hope will get me through today. Certainly helped after last week's results anyway. In 2019, my honourable friends, the member for Wrexham, Ynys Môn and I, became the first 3 women to be elected to the Conservative benches representing Welsh constituencies. I like to think that the 3 of us were worth the 100-year wait. But while we have some difficult questions to answer and challenges to meet on the treatment of women in this place, it is imperative that we do not put anyone off becoming a Member of Parliament. Yes, the House of Commons is a strange place to work, and yes, sometimes some people don't realise that they are part of the problem. But despite that, here is a place where women achieve great things. It was a woman who introduced the Autism Act, the late and much missed across this House member for Cheshire and Amersham. It was a woman who delivered the Children's Funeral Fund and continues to be a pain in the government's neck on hormone replacement therapy. The member for Swansea East, who I'm sorry to see is not in her place today. It was a woman who secured inclusion in today's gracious speech that the government will licence pedicabs right across the cities of London and Westminster for the very first time. No guessing, no prizes for who that was. And it was a woman, long before my time, who stood up to the might of the unions, empowered council tenants to buy their homes, and 40 years ago this year protected the Falkland Islands. It is important, Mr. Speaker, that we say today a woman's place is in the House of Commons. And by the way, it was also a woman who got 20 million quid out of the Treasury for the Global Centre of Rail Excellence, made cyber flashing a criminal offence, and got the MOD to scrap the closure of Brecon Barracks. Just saying. As much as we must attract more women to this place, we must do our utmost to attract wide-ranging talents so that our benches are filled with the plain-speaking common sense of the Honourable Member for Ashfield, the distinguished professional experience of the Member for Newbury, and dare I even say it, the political diplomacy of the Honourable Member for Stoke-on-Trent North, Hidsgrove. Mr. Speaker, my Liberal Democrat opponents tell me that all I do is talk about farming and the military. Quite right. So today I will keep them happy and do exactly that. During my maiden speech, I said I felt I had won first prize in the lottery of life by becoming the member for Brecon and Radnorshire. That's as true today as it was then. It's a glorious part of the world, stretching from the upper Swansea Valley to just outside Ludlow. It is kept thriving by thousands of farmers, not trustafarian farmers who inherit their wealth, but the ordinary, mud under the fingernail, grafting farmer who works year-round to put food on our plates and to give their kids a future. Yeah. The cost of living crisis is having a particular effect in rural areas. Costs of fuel and fertiliser are eye-watering, and this presents a real risk to our ability to feed ourselves. It is deeply tragic that it has taken war in Ukraine for us to focus on UK food security. If I do anything in this place, it will be to bang on about the importance of farming to this country. Hence why I welcome the measures in the gracious address which will see British produce on tables around the world. And even the online safety bill, which will protect the unsuspecting farmer from nefarious internet videos. Mr. Speaker, if you walk down the Watton in Brecon, as I know you have, you will see 24 trees honouring 24th the Foot, better known as the South Wales Borderers, who fought at the Battle of Rorke's Drift, made iconic in the film Zulu. Whether Brecon Barracks, Sennybridge Training Area, or the Navy's Outdoor Leadership Training Centre in Talabont, my constituency is extremely proud of its military footprint. We are also home to the Cambrian Patrol, the Olympic gold medal in infantry training, a 60-kilometre march for teams of 8 over just 48 hours. Now, I know he will be far too modest to tell you himself, but the Secretary of State for Wales is in fact a finisher of that event. So modest was he, so keen to keep his light under a bushel, that when we visited the Cambrian Patrol back in October, he brought his finisher's certificate along and put it out on Twitter. It was dated 1987. I took great joy in pointing out that I was 2 years old at the time, and great joy recounting it again now. Over the years, many wrongs have been done to military veterans, and I applaud the efforts of those right across this House to correct that. The Honourable Member for Barnsley Central has led his benches in that effort. And on this side, my honourable friends for Plymouth Moorview and Wrexham have spoken for male and female veterans in ways few can match. And so on behalf of the many veterans I represent, particularly those who served in Northern Ireland and tell me they have been frightened of opening the post for decades, I warmly welcome the inclusion of the Legacy Bill in today's gracious speech. So, Mr. Speaker, let me conclude my seconding of the Loyal Address and give way to the Leader of the Opposition. I know we are all delighted he has not cancelled this afternoon's speech. I warmly welcome it on behalf of my constituents. Today's Queen's speech contains a commitment to right the historic imbalance that has pervaded this country for too long and level up all four corners of the United Kingdom. It offers leadership in turbulent times and looks to the long term, ironing out our challenges of food and energy security, and makes best use of our newfound legislative freedoms. It helps this country stand tall on the world stage, as it has done for so long, and it is my honour to commend this gracious speech to the House.